Welcome to the Cash Confident Podcast. I'm Bri Sedano, your fearless host, personal finance expert, and the visionary behind the revolutionary Cash Confident community. I have a special treat for you today. This is Bri Sedano. You're here for the Cash Confident Podcast, and today we have time management and planning expert for women, Megan Sumrell. So I am super excited to have this conversation because in the Cash Confident community, so many women come to see me in a situation that I call busy, broke, and exhausted. And so while I'm working with my clients on the money aspect of getting out of scarcity and really like building out systems to manage our money and to, in time, build wealth, Megan is a motherfucking genius with the planning and the time management. And that is the thing where so many of us really can get into that like time scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
So I am thrilled to have her on today to just have a conversation with me about the parallels between the money management and the time management, and basically like how we can streamline our lives, get stuff off of our plate, and just feel real good and happy.
Oh, I love that. And everything that you were talking about, things I've learned from you that we have applied, here in our household to some finances. One I want to talk about in particular that's been a big game changer. There are so many parallels to how we plan, manage, and control our time that for all the women doing the Cash Confident Society and implementing what they're learning from you, I'm hoping today to give them a way of thinking about how they can take some of those same things when it comes to their time to start getting control back over our calendar again. And that's where I get really excited. Men and women are different. And we need different tools to plan and manage our time because we are wired differently. We tend to carry a lot more of an emotional load, and the traditional time management systems and the traditional men teaching time management systems aren't accommodating that, and we aren't talking about it. And so that's really where I come in, and I take a very different, what I call a very feminine approach to planning and managing our time.
I love that because you know what I've noticed too is like men teaching men about setting goals and men teaching men about time management and men teaching men about business is all real good. Like if you're in your masculine and if you're a man, and especially if you're a man with a wife who's taking care of a lot of the other stuff. And so much of what I find there just doesn't really apply.
Yeah. And when I was single and in a corporate setting, I got married later. And I had a very masculine job. I'm very in touch with my masculine energy. All of those productivity and time management systems served me very, very well. And then they stopped when I got married, started a family, became a mom, and was suddenly having to really tap into my feminine side more and wishing I'd done it earlier in life. I felt like I couldn't, but that's a whole other thing. I realized all these things don't work anymore because they're not addressing all the other things that I am juggling when it comes to how I'm spending my time, whether it's pragmatic and tactical, I'm doing this is on my list, versus the emotional. Like I know when I am planning out my days, the difference between my spouse and I, and I mean, he's a very present member here in this household, but he's not going, what will I do if school calls because she's sick today? Because he knows that's coming my way. Like those are things I have to consider and think about when I am saying yes and no to things with my calendar. That just makes it different.
Yeah, so valid. Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So the thing that I was thinking about that was so cool is one of the, my husband and I have always felt like we've managed our money really well. And I know when you were doing a training a while back, and you may need to give a refresher so everyone can give the context, because I know I'll butcher it in the buckets of the types of bank accounts that people should have for emergency money versus, the other. And one of the things my husband and I had always done originally was we had a savings account that served two purposes. It was our emergency funds and also kind of nest egg, but more liquid nest egg.
Okay.
And so we were having a lot of surprises or discrepancies on like not agreeing on what number that account should be at. And he'd be stressed when I wasn't, I'd be stressed when he wasn't, because we had one pool of funds that was earmarked for two very different things. And so we ended up, thanks to you, now having another bank account. So we have here is our, building wealth versus we went through the exercise of what are all of the expenses that come up over the year that aren't regular recurring bills. They're like the once a years, all the things that we've chosen to set up that way, like our homeowner's bill comes in once a year, and our mortgage insurance and all that kind of stuff. And so we shifted that last year and did the math. And so we have auto drafting going into, and we've managed to open up a high yield savings account at 4%. Woohoo. And it's like all that stress is gone. We're no longer having those conversations. The bill comes in, the money's there, it's getting paid. And then we're both just laser focused on the wealth building side because we've cleaned that up.
Oh,
And
I love it.
we thought it's like, there's the fine line of being organized and over organizing. Like you don't need 5,000 bank accounts, right? You don't want one account for your homeowners, one account for your insurance, one account, like that would be over the top. But at the same time, if you don't have enough, then it's like a completely disorganized mess. And you really don't know how much money what is my discretionary income? If it's all lumped into one account, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I am with you. And I love what you said there, because when I talk about working capital, so if you're a listener of the
I was like,
podcast,
I know I'm not going to remember the right thing, the working capital. Yeah.
it's all right. There's episodes about working capital, and working capital in time does get to serve two purposes. Like before you can really be saving to be prepared for opportunities, like those wealth building opportunities, you have to be prepared for like the expenses. Like
Yeah.
that's really the thing. That's what keeps you out of credit card debt. That's the thing that moves it in the direction of being able to get there. And then once your working capital is fully funded and you have stronger cash flow than that, then you do get to have liquid wealth building money. And I still call it like a being prepared account, but you're just being prepared for like opportunity.
Yeah. The positive. Like
Rather than just like,
things.
emergencies.
Yeah.
But a lot of what working capital does is it moves things into the category of non-emergencies. Like when
Mhm.
you have money to be able to buy snow tires or pay your homeowner's insurance or whatever, those kind of things aren't a scramble and they're not emergencies. They're just like an inconvenience.
Yeah.
So I love that you're moving that. So how does that translate to what you're
Yeah.
teaching your clients in time?
So let's think about, like, first, just think about a bank account, right? Let's say you hadn't met the amazing Bree and you have all your money going into one bank account that's serving everything. It's paying your regular weekly bills. It's also your vacation fund. It's your everything, right? If I said, okay, Bree, like, how much discretionary income do you have right now? How are you gonna know?
You would, if that was a money situation, you would be out of money, you'd be overdrawn, and you would have no clarity. Like I've seen that financial.
Exactly.
Oh, I hit my mic.
Yeah.
I hope that when that happens in the finances, if somebody's using one bank account to pay all their bills and do all their spending,
Yeah.
they're going to be out of money and quick.
Exactly. Because they might see a huge, oh, look, yeah, I can buy that thing, when they forgot about the big bills or whatever. Well, the same is true with our time. Most people start every day just thinking, like, let's say you wake up at 6 a.m. and you're like, yeah, I kind of want to be done by 8 o'clock at night. And you launch into your day going, I've got 14 hours of time. No, you don't. Unless you literally have nothing on your calendar, you're retired, you're empty nester, and you have zero commitments. I guarantee you don't have 14 hours of available time in your bank account. But this is how women in particular, are living. Now, maybe you've gone to the next step and you look at your calendar to see what appointments are on there, meaning commitments you've already made. So maybe you'd start and go, okay, between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., I have a 1-hour meeting and I have a 2-hour call, and then I've got an hour of, toting kids around. So now there's 4 hours taken out. So you'd be like, all right, I got 10 hours. I got 10 hours and I can do all these things in 10 hours. Guess what? You don't. I promise you, you don't. You have way less. And so this is where it is really critical, especially for women, for you to have the tools in place. And I'll share some tips on how you can do this, for you to know exactly how much time do you really have today to work on the things that are going to pop up, those long-term projects that you're, working towards? How much time do you really have in that 14-hour window? And so one of the things that I teach people to do with their weekly plan is we start with just the basic 5-step process. And it's the step number 2 that is a game changer. So the first step in the weekly planning process is, putting on your calendar, what are your current commitments? And this is what most people already have. Like, it's on your Google Calendar or your paper planner. What have you already said yes to at a set date and time? But usually it stops there. The second piece is the game changer. And this is when we need to start to understand how much of our day is consumed in, I call it either busy being busy time or unavailable time, meaning you're in motion, you're busy doing things, but it's not a set appointment and it's not things that usually show up on your calendar. So, for example, I'm at a stage of life right now. I get up about 5:45, and between 5:45 and 8:30, I am very busy. I'm doing my morning routine. We're getting, breakfast for the kid. We're driving the kid to school, packing lunches, dogs, all the stuff. I don't like, that's not an appointment on my calendar. I'm not held accountable to somebody else. So people start, but that time, I'm not going to get anything done that would live on a traditional to-do list or be working on those long projects. Same for me in the afternoon of I'm shutting down at 2:30 to go get in my car and do school pickup and then lessons or homework or this or that. Again, those don't usually show up on your calendar. So when I just layer that in, that is 5 hours of my day, Monday through Friday, every day. So that's 25 hours of my week is already withdrawn from my bank account before the week even starts. But it's not on the calendar. And so people aren't thinking about that. And just as when you're pulling from one bucket of funds, this is why people are getting overdrawn and overdrafted. When you don't have a realistic look at your realities, you get overbooked and overscheduled. And you're staying up late and you're getting up early and you're multitasking and you're run ragged.
Yes, yes, I can feel this. I definitely used to be that person, and then I would, like, get all sorts of resentful
Oh, yeah,
about,
of course.
sometimes my resentment would go toward my husband because I was taking care of all the mental load and this is
Yep.
doing all the things, and sometimes it would be toward other so so
Well,
I'm, like,
then it's usually,
remembering
and
how
then
many
when you like,
flavors of resentment
yeah,
would be
and then
happening.
by the time you flip out, it's never about the thing you flipped out about. It's about
No.
the exhaustion and resentment that had built up. So when we think about our monies, like if you have the bank account for that, you're, for the emergency fund, maybe you have your vacation, right? And you've got all those accounts of time, or accounts of money. Now, if I ask you, hey, Brie, what do you like? How much money do you have saved up for vacation? What can we plan? You can tell me, knowing that it's not screwing with the rest of your money management system. And so when we learn how to identify what are the buckets of our time and on a consistent basis, what are the recurring withdrawals of our time that we know are going to happen every week or every month, now we can zero in on how much available time what is my discretionary time for real? And when you know that, you start making a lot better decisions about what you say yes and no to, and your boundaries around your time. All of this, we always say we're going to have them, right? I'm not going to get shooted into this or that. Well, if you think you had 14 hours, you'll say yes. In reality, if you know you really only have 3 hours of discretionary time that day, you're probably going to say no.
Oh, that's so true, and then I will tell you that I talk to women who never feel productive enough. Like, I talk to women who are amazing, women who've definitely gotten, like, 6,500 things done in a single day, and they're like, I didn't even make a dent in my to-do list," and it sometimes it baffles me because it's like that story of being so unproductive
Yeah.
is, 1, not true, but then 2, it's like, maybe instead of being unproductive, you were just way overscheduled and
And it may be, and again, this is where I take a different definition of productivity. When I talk about being productive, for me, it's getting the most important things done in a
I love
stress-free way.
I love that.
And so most people today, women today, are taught, wake up, do your brain dump, right? Write down everything that you think of that needs to be done,
Mm.
and then start your engines, go as fast as you can all day long, trying to check everything off. Sadly, that's what a lot of people talk. It's this what I call daily planning. Wake up that morning, create your plan for the day. Too late. You're stuck in reaction mode. And here's what's happening. So please listen if you are someone that creates a big list every day and then tries to tackle it. There's brain science behind this. Let's say you had 14 things on your list, not an unreasonable number, probably smaller than a lot of folks listening might have. Because it's just a list, you're going to look at the list of 14 things and say, what should I do right now? Every time you are making a decision, you are pulling from your energy stores in your brain. Decision fatigue is a real thing. The more decisions you make all day long, the more exhausted you become and the less you start making crappy decisions. Wonder why we always at the end of the night when we're trying to eat healthy, just go screw it and have the Doritos and the ice cream. It's not because you're a bad person. It's because your decision-making abilities are shot. You've been making choices all day long.
I talk about this. I'm going to interrupt. I talk about this exact
Yeah.
same concept, especially with grocery shopping, and
Yes.
why going to multiple grocery stores doesn't save any money. Because by the time you're at the third grocery store, your decision fatigue is so like you're making impulse purchases
Yeah.
because your brain is like, I'm
I'm
so
out.
tired and done with this, and I need some crunchies and a chocolate bar. And if you have kids with you, they're bothering you for the things that they want, and by then you're just saying yes.
Fine.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Get
it
it.
uses so much time, so much mental energy. I love that you brought up decision
Absolutely.
fatigue with time too.
So you start in the morning, you look at those 14. Well, the other interesting brain science is the more choices you give your brain to choose from, the harder it has to work. So the longer your list, the harder it is for your brain to find the first thing. And because it's like, oh my God, there's 14 things, or what if there's 22 things on here? What do I do first? It's going to go for a dopamine hit. That's what it wants. Your brain wants its job is to make you feel good. So usually that dopamine hit is, what's an easy win right here?
Mm.
99% of the time, it's not the most important thing that's on your list. It's oh yeah, I'm going to clean out the pantry, right? Not go write the big chapter in the book that I'm working on. You're like, oh, that looks heavy. So all day long, as you go back to that list, what's next? What's next? What's next? Decision fatigue, decision fatigue, decision fatigue. And as the day wears on, you're looking for the easiest dopamine hit. So at the end of the day, you're left feeling like, I got nothing done, because the things left on your to-do list 90% of the time were the things that would have made you feel more productive. But we're not creating the system to support us on spending our time in the most productive way. So this is why I want people to get out of daily list making mode and get into weekly planning mode. And that you're there when I wake up in the morning, I'm not saying, okay, what do I need to do today? I'm looking at the plan that I created and saying, this is what I'm doing today. It's telling me what I'm doing. I'm not making decisions. I made those when I sat down, well rested, calm, cool, and collected, and not under pressure, mapping
Mm.
out the realities of my week, acknowledging the withdrawals of my bank accounts that are already spoken for in mom mode, appointments, all of that. I know what my discretionary time is for the week, and I've proactively made appointments with myself on my calendar for how I'm going to spend those. Just as setting up auto drafts in your bank accounts, right? Like if you already have it set up that when your paycheck comes in, X percentage goes to your emergency fund or whatever, it's like you're not even having to think about it anymore. So that is how, when you can wake up every day and not think about, what do I need to do today and how am I going to get it done? Because you've set the framework in place. Now there are days where maybe 2 things got done, but I feel so good because they were the important things. And I acknowledged, that's all that's going to get done today. That's the reality. of what time I have available. And it's going to be awesome when those two things get completed.
Mm. I love this talk because one, you're talking to me. I get a little delusional with my time.
We all
Like
do.
where I'm like, oh yeah, I made a list of 64 things today and I'm obviously going to get all of them done. And then I like to really be disappointed with myself when I didn't do
Yeah.
which was like a crazy, like I will put a week's worth of things to do on my list and then be disappointed with myself when I didn't get it done today. But it's literally a week's worth of stuff. And I'm like laughing about this because I see that it's a little bit hilarious, but it's so true that um that like in my calendar I have my appointments, but
Right.
every afternoon between like 3 and 6 I'm not available to do work things. I'm just
Right.
not.
But that's
Um
probably not reflected on your calendar. So
no.
even though you mentally know that, your brain is going, look at all that open
Look at
time.
all that open
We
time.
can get it done. No, you can't. You can't.
No. Also I find that I'm real like if I need to get something extra done, I'm better to do it in the morning. By the time the afternoon comes, I do not have the capacity
Yeah.
for that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm like really heavy like lifting for business or for things that really require a lot of thought. Really for me needs to happen before
Same.
noon. And like if I was to try to go back to work at like 6 p.m., even though I might have the time, like I'm not I have the time, but I don't also have the capacity of
Yeah.
energy that's
And
required
this
to do
is
that thing.
one of the things that I do early on in my program with women is we do not only a time audit, but we also do an energy audit because everybody's different. Everyone hits their stride for different types of work. Like for me, if it's creative work, I need to have it wrapped up by 11:30 in the morning. If it's tech work, I can do that in the afternoon. It's fun for me. It's easy. I was a technologist for over 20 years. And so knowing for yourself what types of things are easy for you at different types of the day enables you to create a plan that's going to support that for you as well. So when I'm doing my weekly planning, if I know, oh wow, I've got to get this big article written, or something that really is pulling from creativity for me, I know I'm better off waiting until maybe Thursday because that's the one morning I have open that week instead of trying to get it done Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday afternoon. And then the beauty of seeing that, then I go block my calendar for Thursday morning to protect the time to do it. Then on Monday or Tuesday, if I start to get panicky, like, oh my God, I've got to write that article, I just look at my plan. I'm like, it's good. You're doing that Thursday, Megan. You're okay. Whereas if it was just sitting there on a to-do list, I would be stressing about it Monday. I'd be stressing about it Tuesday. So again, the decision fatigue is gone and I'm not having these panicked reminders of what I'm not doing. I know I'm not doing that. I didn't plan to do it until Thursday.
Mm,
I don't even want to see it because I don't need to be stressing about it.
this sounds so satisfying. Like it really quiets your mind down.
Hmm.
Like when I have because when you said, oh, when I have my to-do list and I look and then I feel panicky on Monday and I know that I don't have time on Monday, but then I feel it and then
Yeah.
I feel it again on Tuesday. It's like, if I just know, then my mind would probably like be like, oh, all right, cool. This is taken care of. I don't even need to think about this again. But when it's not, oh, I'm just imagining myself because I'm really type A. So, a lot of times, sometimes even when I listen to the things that you say, I don't want to do them because even though they're such a good idea, because
Well, because one, it's
I love a
different.
little chaos.
Well, I mean, and it's different and change is hard. Just like, I
Yeah.
mean, the same as all of a sudden, no one wants to the first time sit down and look at where all their money's going, right?
Oh, I
But
know.
how do we make the change without having the information in front of us? And so just as seeing where all your money's going empowers you to implement change in a way that feels good for you because you know why you're doing it, seeing where your time is going empowers you to make different choices about your time as well.
I can really imagine because also time is an investment. So it's like the things that you're investing your time in, you're going to get a different, whatever the result is, you're going to get a different result. And so when we don't have any sort of budget and our money's just going, a lot of times we're really investing in creating scarcity. We're really investing in scarcity.
100%.
And I'm sure that happens with time because if I'm spending my time today in a way that's going to have me in a scramble again tomorrow or scramble again, it's like we're just creating scarcity. Oh,
And
so,
we women
so
tend
important.
to overbook and overschedule because so many women are people pleasers. I'm not going to say recovered. I'm still recovering people pleaser. I mean, but the more clarity I have around here's your time this week, Megan. This is what you've got. The easier it is for me to not respond as a people pleaser and instead to respond as someone saying, I have 2 hours of discretionary time this week. Is this how I want to spend it? Right.
Mm.
And so if you are someone that struggles with saying no with your time, the minute you can see what time you have in your bank account, just as dollars in your bank account, right? If you're out shopping and you see I only have $50, that is all I have. It empowers you to not buy the things you don't need. If you know you only have 2 hours, it's going to support you in the boundaries you want with your time.
Yes, I love this. I love this. So
Yeah.
good.
I'm telling you, it's like the better I got at managing and controlling my time, the better I got at managing and controlling my money, and vice versa. And it's very interesting because I will meet a lot of women. There's kind of like 3 categories that they feel are out of control and chaotic: money, time, and then physical stuff, clutter, right? And it's interesting because I know you love Katie Wells as much as I do. She's my go-to for all things decluttering. But we've had conversations and it's interesting. Someone will tend to start in one of those 3 places, either cleaning up and getting control of their finances, cleaning up and getting control of their shit all over their house, or cleaning up and get control of their calendar. And once they start seeing the rewards of one, they're going to one of those next 2 and are like, what's next? And then what's next? Because the skills you get from one, there's always a parallel to the other. And so I would just say for your listeners, as you are working with Bree and getting control of your finances and confidence and all of that, now it just opens the door to say the skills you are learning here are 100%. There's parallels on how you can now get control of other aspects of your life that might feel chaotic.
Yes. No, and it's scarcity is so pervasive. So if you're having, let's say you're having some time scarcity, you're really feeling some urgency, that like white knuckling feeling about time. You're one decision away from that being in your energy, that being that same thing happening in your money. Because it's just like, it's like you get short on time and then all of a sudden you're getting takeout, or all of a sudden you're buying another pair of soccer cleats because you don't have the energy or time to find the soccer cleats that you're pretty sure you already have in a closet somewhere. So you're not even sure if they fit. So you just buy another pair, right? Because we have soccer practice at this time and I know that the store is going to have them, but I'm not sure if we have enough. I'm not sure if they fit. And that's like, I think that's because that's just.
It panics. And it's interesting. The thing that has really helped us with impulse purchases that I learned from you as well is you may not buy now. Like on Amazon, it has to sit in our cart for at least, depending upon the category, for at least a day before you're allowed to hit purchase. Period. The only exceptions we've made have been on emergency of we ran out of any of the vitamins or supplements that we're going to go to the store and buy anyway. Like if it's in the house and empty and you're replacing it, and that's literally our only exception anymore. And it's been interesting to see. My husband was the worst with it. He was worse than I was with it.
Oh, and Amazon, you can have literally anything. The stuff that I find in my Amazon cart, sometimes I'm like,
I love that because I'll go log in and be like, okay, now I'm ready. I'm like, when did I put that in there? Like
yesterday, I just took tiny tincture. I'm not an herbalist. I don't make tinctures, but I had hundreds of tincture jars in my Amazon cart, and I was like, I don't have anything to put in these.
Yeah.
What do I think I'm doing with a 24 pack? And it wasn't just one 24 pack. It was like multiple packages of tincture jars. And I was like, I don't even take tinctures.
Like, the bigger Amazon gets, like, I don't like the fact that they'll now deliver at 9:30 at night. I don't want someone coming up to my front porch and dropping a package off at 10 p.m. But now that's option. So I'm like, okay, by us slowing our roll on now, we can let it all into one box, have it at our doorstep at a normal time so the dogs aren't freaking out at night. And, but yeah, that's been something that's been a huge saver for us. So I remember when you said that once, I was like, ooh, we need to do that. So thank
Yeah.
you. That's been a game changer.
So good. Listen, Megan, I want to ask you I've changed the topic a little
Yeah.
bit. I have another question. So I've been noticing that you have been talking about a one notebook, a one notebook,
One notebook challenge.
one
It's
notebook challenge.
so much fun. Okay.
And I'm going to confess, listen, I'm in front of my computer. I have three notebooks. Let me just check. I have three notebooks on my desk. I have a notebook that I can see. I have another notebook that I can see. So I have five notebooks in this room. I know that I have multiple notebooks in my bedroom. I have notebooks in the
Yeah.
chair
Everywhere.
next to the one that I work. I know that I have two notebooks in my car, one in every single one of my purses. And
Okay.
I
And
have empty ones that I didn't even get to use yet.
yeah, of course,
So
because they're fantastic. Who doesn't love a good little notebook or a journal? But here's what's so cool. So first of all, for those of you listening, this is a free event. So I want you to listen up, because if you, as Bree is talking, if you're relating to all the notebooks, or like you're walking down the aisles of Staples or Target and there they all are, and you're like, oh, but it has that saying on it, and that's my favorite, right? Now, first reward yourself. 99% of the time, your desire to purchase the notebook is to be organized, right? Okay, I need this notebook because I've just enrolled in this online program and I need its own notebook to take notes in. Or I need this notebook because I get ideas sometimes when I'm in my bed and I need somewhere to write it down. Or what if I'm in my car, right? And so again, back to kind of this relationship of our bank accounts, right? We start off with a great intention. Like maybe you have set up here's my emergency fund bank account. Here is the money that is our just constant working capital or whatever. Now, maybe all of a sudden you're like, oh, but I want to save for a vacation 5 years from now. So now let me open up a different bank account that takes a portion of our vacation fund from here, but over there. Like we wouldn't do that, right? We wouldn't want to manage our funds in 17 different bank accounts. But it could slowly start happening that way if every time we thought of a category of where our money needs to go, we went and opened a bank account for it.
that
Of course, you wouldn't
does
do that.
happen to people, and
I'm sure it has. It's chaos.
it's generally it's yeah, always a good intention, but generally that is a reaction to something happening with scarcity. When I see that, like when I see somebody come see me and they're like, oh, I have 12 bank accounts and 14 savings accounts and 34 credit cards, I'm like, cheese and crackers, man.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And again, it's the intent was good, just as our intent for all the notebooks is good. Well, I'll take notes from this over here. I'll take notes from this over here. I'll have this over here for when I'm in carpool. I'll have this over here. Then the problem comes. Now you want to sit down and plan how you're going to spend your week. How long is it going to take you to pull together all the things you've jotted down that are competing for your time? Whether it's an action item like a to-do list that you remembered in carpool line, so you wrote it in that notebook, or it's you were listening to a podcast and you're like, oh my God, I totally want to do that. So then you put that in on your notes app on your phone as you're like listening to the podcast. Like, so it can be any and all. I mean, any idea you have, the recipe you heard that you want to make, the thing you don't want to forget to buy, the form you've got to fill out. And if you're having to go collect 18 different notebooks and 3 apps to say, here's everything competing for my time, it's overwhelming, right? Or on the flip side, you're like, where did I write that thing down? I
Yeah.
visually remember writing it. Which of my 17 notebooks is it in? You can't
Oh,
find it.
there's a 0% chance that I can go back to any of my notebooks for any sort of reference. They are useless for that. They are
Yeah.
useless. I
So
cannot
this
do it. It is an impossible task. And I will just recreate it or do my best to remember it. But there's a 0% chance that in my notebooks, I know
where
what
anything,
things went
save
in
them
any
all
notebook.
because we know we're going to need to go back and reference it at some point. So this is what this one notebook challenge is all about. Is I come in and teach how to stay completely organized in terms of all the information coming at you with just one notebook. Now, the bad news is you don't get to go buy a notebook every week. But the good news is you don't get to go buy a notebook every week. So think of the money that you're saving. Now, if you are a notebook lover like I am, it doesn't mean you're stuck with one notebook for the rest of your life. Because I do the one notebook system, I typically go through about 3 a year, 2 to 3 a year. So I am getting to enjoy fun, pretty notebooks, and I'm very intentional and thoughtful about which ones I buy. Now, the notebook in and amongst itself is not going to solve your problems. The secret sauce is in how you process the information that goes in there. And
I
that's the meat of what I teach inside the One Notebook Challenge.
I have a
So,
I have a question.
yeah.
So listen, some of my notebooks, I'm gonna call journals.
Yeah. Okay. And that's a different category.
Oh, so all right, because I was like, because when you said you go through three notebooks a year, I was like, I might go like a notebook like this. Hold on, I'm gonna just this. If you're listening and not watching, this is probably it's a little soft. It's a little soft journal. I got
Mhm.
it at Marshall's. It's probably got like I don't know, maybe 40 pages in it. I
Yeah.
might go through something like that in a week.
Yeah. If
Like
you're
I
like
go through like
true
probably
journaling, that's
20 notebooks in a year.
Yeah, that's a very different. So for me, I'm talking about the place where you're writing down I got to remember to do this. I'm taking
Okay.
notes in a training. I've got to, so yeah, and we will cover that in the One Notebook Challenge. Like I have basically truly three notebooks, one being my physical planner. My
Okay.
planner is the calendar, and the planner's purpose is one and only thing. It tells me what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. Period. I don't take notes in here. I'm not jotting down ideas, nothing. Now, I'm not as avid of a journaler as you are, but I do have a journal for when I do want to sit down maybe and do a meditation, or like sometimes I'll get my cards read. Like I love doing that. And I'll take notes about like, that's different. And this is a very personal thing, but almost like a diary kind of
Yes.
thing.
Okay.
So those absolutely, but I'm talking about the sticky notes, the jotted down things, that the note app, the Todoist, the Google task list, all of that, all the things where you are jotting down, I got to remember to do this. Let me take notes on this. We're going to get you down to one central place for that. And then I'm going to teach you how do you get the information that you've put in here put into the right location, so that when you go, oh my God, I totally want to make that recipe, or now I'm ready to go implement that thing I learned on the podcast, you can find it like that. You're not looking at 15 notebooks going, where the hell is it? And you'll
Mm.
also find, I would say 80% of what goes into my notebooks never gets stored anywhere. Because when I'm going back and reading through my notes for the week, a lot of times you're like, kind of like your Amazon cart. I don't need this. Sounded good when I wrote it down, but now I'm like, I don't need to do that.
Oh,
So it's this
yes.
really powerful one notebook system. I've now had over 10,000 women go through this. I only do it once a year.
10,000?
Yeah. So
Oh
I
my
only keep it
goodness.
live once a year. And it has been like everybody has a really, really good time in it. It's 30 minutes or less for 3 days. That's it. And you're going to have
Mm.
everything. You will have learned everything you need to know to do it.
I really like this. All right, I will tell you that when I saw your reels and then the one notebook challenge, I was immediately like, oh no, definitely not for me. And it's because but separating out
Yeah.
but to me, even when just like listening to you talk about that, separating out the work stuff, the to-do list, like that sort of stuff, that having one notebook actually seems like it would be a drastic improvement. And then I could probably just leave the chaos of my journals. So like I'm not always like journaling at the depths of my soul. Sometimes I just have to work out an idea so that way when I'm teaching it, it comes out clear. So a lot of the times once I like go through, like once I write down the stuff, I see it and I'm like, done and done. I could throw the pages away right then and there. So
Exactly.
but I'm like, so when you said one notebook, I was like, I cannot possibly have one notebook.
We're not talking about
Also,
journaling here. That a journal is a
no,
journal,
a
not a note.
journal is a journal, and I like that you have a separate planner because that all makes perfect sense. So, but the one notebook for all of the things that you have, all of your ideas, all of your recipes, all of your to dos, that does seem like one place. Oh,
One
that
place
does
that
seem really
all of that's
satisfying.
being channeled into. And then I'm going to teach you now, how do we create basically, like we have different bank accounts for different things. How do we create repositories of the different types of information for easy reference when we actually do need to go back and are ready to take action on it. So now you're not flipping through 25 different notebooks going, where did I write that thing down that I'm ready to finally go do?
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's really fun. And we kick off February 6th. So it's a Tuesday,
Perfect.
Wednesday, Thursday. I go live at noon Eastern. But if you can't be there, the recording will sit there for you. So you can come in and watch it at your convenience.
Perfect. I will drop a link in the show notes for
Awesome.
everybody to sign up. So I know that we have to go because you have
Yeah,
something in your
I
calendar.
do.
So Megan, tell the ladies, tell my listeners where they can find you, where they can watch you, where they can find out all the brilliant things that you have to teach them.
Yeah, I am very easy to find on any of the social platforms. You can just search for my name, Megan Sumrell, Megan, and then S as in Sam, UMRELL. And I'm out there on Instagram. I happily make a fool of myself on Instagram Reels. I do not take myself seriously, so come
I
join
love
me
your
there as
reels.
well.
I love it when you're silly. It makes
Yeah,
me
who
happy.
I
I
am.
watch them all. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with
Thank
us and giving
you.
these ladies such a wonderful idea on how to manage their time better and how to simplify with one notebook. People are going to find so much value in this, and I'm so grateful that it's free.
Thank
So,
you.
all right. So everybody check out Megan, and then I will see you next week. I love you and I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.